So this week that.
Great.
We said no.
What?
That's what I heard. Cause they offered it. 2 months.
So disappointing.
Where it's going. Said no. Heard it.
I know. Like me? I've been paper, so remember ever making a decision on where I like to lose.
Good kid.
All right, we've got 10 o'clock. Let's go ahead and follow the orders and start the pledge of allegiance.
I believe allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which is the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we will move on to item number 3, consideration and approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add one thing, and I was gonna put it under council concerns, but I'd like to add it under new business 9.8. Snow plowing along hillside. Acceptable for discussion. I guess in possible action.
All right, would someone like to make a motion with Kyle's addition to approve the agenda? Or are there any other additions to the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second Dan's motion. I just, if we're gonna make decisions on stuff, I'm just gonna say, I think we should try to have the information available to everyone, you know, before, but I don't know how minute it is, so, you know, it might be something we've already talked about and have that information, I'm just clarifying that.
All right, so we've got a motion from Dan and a second from Gina. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving on, we've got item number 4, public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to the council that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 15 minutes set aside. If your item needs follow-up from city staff, we'll arrange for that time. Would anybody like to step forward for public forum? If so, please make your way to the podium, state your name, address, and your concerns. I'll ask again if anybody would like to step forward for public forum. And a third and final time, if anybody would like to step forward for public forum. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 5. These are committee updates. And we will start off with the Civic Center Committee.
We met on February 9th. Very good meeting there. They were gearing up because the Dragons got into the sectional playoffs and they won last night. So they go on again. I don't know when the next game is, but some of the things that were talked about was the budget and that, but also there's a new school board representative, Mr. Foster, the school board chairman, is now on the Civic Center board, or will be voted on in March. And he asked that once he's on, that he would like to open talks for negotiating another 30-year contract with the Civic Center. Because his feelings are that he doesn't know what's gonna happen with the bond issues in the future coming up. So that was one of the main topic, and they were talking about a lot of uses of the facility are gonna be a lot. They have a new athletic director, so the Civic Center is going to be used a lot more than it was by the local sports teams or the junior high and senior high boys and girls. And it does have possibilities for the city if we would have a function that we would need a large open facility, because they do have heat and they have the possibility that they can put in air. They have the unit, so some
We can put a what?
air conditioning. So it's because it does get pretty hot in there.
Yeah. I think
In the
that's
summertime.
Pickleball.
Yeah, they got that unit that sits back there. That's an air conditioning unit they got for nothing. It's brand new, but it's huge. And so that facility would have some possibilities if the city needed a large facility for something. But that's all there is pretty much on that.
Great, thanks, Dave. Next is the 315 work group. We met the last
Last Thursday.
Thursday. We opened the proposals at that point in time. There were two proposals that made it in prior to the deadline. One proposal that made it in after the deadline that we reviewed at that meeting.
So there were three interested parties to, come and try and help solve this problem that we have. We discussed what was required in the proposal, and one proposal that came in late didn't quite have all the information, so we discussed what to do with that. No decisions were made except just hearing what they're interested in putting in here.
And I believe there is interest from the work group, that we would be posting these all as a forum moving forward, being it is our shoulders that these decisions are going to land on at the end of the day. So if council as a whole could make it to these meetings and start to get, the presentations are actually going to be at our next 315 group in
The 13th of March.
13th of March. And that will have the developers coming forward and will be giving like a one-on-one presentation about their plans and their goals for the property.
And I think this is a little bit unique. I kind of feel like we're playing, like, whose idea do we like best? We have more than one person. Usually somebody comes in, submits a project and it moves forward. So, involving us at this level is a little foreign to me. It's interesting and I'm excited about going forward.
Yes.
With that, are you gonna provide the rest of the council with those proposals so that they can review them ahead of time?
Yep.
The written proposals?
Yep, I will, I'll work with Leslie and we'll get that distributed.
What time is that meeting?
10:30
30.
on the 13th. It's a Thursday, and a quorum will be posted.
Anything else that you can think of for the 315 work group?
I just want to reiterate too, that, Leslie said when she sent this RFP out late last fall, that if we don't like any of them, there's nothing saying that we have to accept, what's presented. We can do it again, We're just trying to make a decision on how to forward. So just remember that we don't have to like or accept any of them.
Right.
And there's a garage sale?
There's a garage sale. I'll talk about that under
Okay.
the
Oh, okay.
mayor's report. Fire committee was last night.
Yeah, we met with the townships. There was a light turnout, but there was some of the main parties were there. The talk was pretty much, we went over the budget, where we are and expenses and that, and they had a lot of questions on certain things. But one of their requests was that certain budget items, they they wanted Tom to have some different line items. Maybe you can explain, Tom, kind of what they were talking there as far as what they really want. What did Sean Linnell, he was one that requested some information.
On the fire committee, the meeting, the thing that Nancy brings to us, that we have that spreadsheet that everyone's seen, the one that has all the municipalities, prices and breakdowns and everything. But there's that discrepancy between the budget amount that's put into contracts, which is much lower than the fire department's overall contract, and they would just like something in writing. States what the city actually off of the budget and pays for ahead of time before it goes to the spreadsheet.
Right, yeah.
So they have, and so they wanted to, so all the numbers would align.
So the rationale is because the way it's presented, it looks like we pay less, but we actually pay a big chunk that's not
Right,
in the same presented.
Right, every year that when we're, And I think it might help actually, with listening to how he wanted it listed out, you know, as kind of, he just wanted a footnote on the bottom of that spreadsheet, kind of a section that said, prior to the, you know, budgetary dollars being applied to the contract, the city has already agreed to pay this, and this. And he wants that broke out before it goes up, and so, or it's reduced, that amount is reduced from the actual budget based on these figures. So it's just, it cleaned it up a little when they dig through everything, so the numbers match up.
He's done a lot of clarification on a lot of it. One of the things that that was caught last night was that the money that was donated by the Robbins family, you know, went into a miscellaneous and it wasn't marked with anything.
Well, it was.
Miscellaneous,
We didn't have
yeah.
what was tracked.
Right, yeah.
We had that right.
But it isn't very clear what that money is.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some infographics too, maybe. Little pictures. Oh. Yeah. And then the explanation can, you know, if you want to look at where this is, the explanation can be on a different page, but at least you could compare. And I'm thinking AI.
Other than that, we'll be meeting on a regular basis, so there'll be more stuff that we talked about. We went to fire district right after that.
Well, let's
Oh,
stay with this. Right.
okay.
Our
Fire meeting, okay.
Okay.
So the one other thing is just, there was the liquidation of the.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's right.
They made a motion and I don't remember this one yet. But they made a motion and honestly through the fire committee last night that if we can sell the tanker number 18 or the engine number 16, that they would support selling that at a very reduced cost to maybe to a department if we have one they could use.
They
If
should.
they just wanted to have that, it's obviously the city council, but they wanted to have that in support of liquidating that. I told them we can get rid of 18 at any time, that I was waiting on the two people that parties that have expressed interest in it that are in our area to give me something in writing so I can present it. And 16, I don't think Sean agrees with that. To keep that around until the ladder is replaced like we talked about before.
I was under the impression that their action was to liquidate or get rid of 18 as soon as possible. They just had some strong encouragement that they wanted us to get rid of 16 as soon as possible, which was the engine. I think that there's probably some fire departments out there that could benefit from having it. Maybe the better option is to sell it on min bid. I don't know, but if we're gonna do it, we should do it sooner, because I don't know that you have enough firefighters to actually man it on a regular basis. And it also does cost money for insurance and fuel and upkeep and everything. It's also a pretty good tripping hazard in flare health.
And they, as Sean made the point, you know, we benefit from if we give it to a neighbor that we use for mutual aid, we benefit from that greatly. And Pine City does have a bigger tax base than most of these other area departments, so I guess we're blessed to have a little extra money to work with, but so, and I thought it was good on their part, because generally, it seems like over the years, they were always trying to figure out ways to, you know, that, you know, we should charge them less, but, you know, make more money doing whatever. So it's a little different, you know, I didn't think that, you know, that they're in support of that is pretty nice, I think, that they help out. And I made the point, I told them, I said, well, we've done some over the years we get hose or old uniforms that aren't good enough for us anymore that will make our grade, but we pass them on to the northern departments because they don't have the funds.
The only thing I'd say is if we are truly gonna get rid of it, and that is something that we truly want to entertain, I guess my request would be that we would have some kind of written proposal by the time of the next council meeting in March. instead of dragging this out, because I got the impression that who's ever interested may have been dragging it out for a significant amount of time. And so if they're interested, then they should make an offer. If they're not interested, then we should move on to the next.
I think we should also check and make sure there's no legal implications from disposal of public assets where it doesn't have to go out to a market bid process first, especially since we're disposing of more than one.
Fair enough.
I believe when we look into that, there's, special legislation as far as if we're giving it some away from it. We're disposable of that, the whole.
I don't know that you're getting rid of 16 until you get the ladder, correct?
But I prefer not to.
18 is the tanker, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's the only thing that they motioned for last night was 18.
So if that's the possibility, to Mr. Swanson's point, could we get some validation on whether or not we have that ability? And if anybody has any interest, have an update for that ability by the next council meeting and have a written option or options available to us so that we don't have to drag this out forever.
So I can let you know where I talked to one of the chiefs. And that's not to get hold of it.
Okay, well, let's still, like Mr. Swanson said, double check.
All right, anything else on the fire committee?
Well, fire district, we met right after that. And it's basically the same, a lot of the same people are involved in that. And the RFPs for the study of the fire district were sent out. There was two firms that asked to be a part of the process. We will interview those firms March 19th. And then we'll look at, proposals and what their bids are and stuff. So
There's
there's,
the firm's,
there,
goal or what's their?
well, the study takes about a year. And then,
Oh, so who's gonna conduct that?
yeah, we picked the group, we had two firms that responded. I think we sent out three. Well, there isn't a lot of them people that do that type of study and you get what you get. And generally they all charge about the same anyway. This is what this grant that we were awarded pays for.
Okay,
And so we're going by that. So it's fast tracked. It was slowed up in the fall because the state was just not, the fire marshal's office was really still in a kind of a slump down there. They're short of people and so all this stuff was pushed back, but they didn't push back any of the timelines. So the committee was lucky that they had gone out and done their work ahead of time and they did a good job. I think Sean Linnell, as the chairman of this group, has done an excellent job in leading the organization forward. All this in the end is gonna tell us whether or not it's profitable enough for us to get together and do a fire district, or what improvements can we make to what we have now, what we do now. So there's gonna be a benefit no matter what out of this, in the long run. So I think we're gonna benefit greatly from it.
I just want to mention my hesitancy about overly committing ourselves to whatever this contractual agreement
Right.
could be, because we do have a fire department right now. The resources are pretty good. It seems like the most significant benefit would be to that of the townships.
Right.
Who already don't want to pay any more. They want us to pay more. So I want to make sure that we're operating in the best interest of our taxpayers and not because we're trying to be in partnership with our townships.
And there was a lot of reasons to start this study. One was that they thought that they could benefit greatly financially by being a part of an organization, only a part of the organization. Whether that's true or not will come out in the study. So I think we're gonna find all that out. And we're not, as a city, and obviously I as a council person are not gonna just base because I think it's a good idea. No, it's gotta benefit us greatly too. It just can't be a wash or everything on their side and nothing on our side. So I think it's gonna be a good study. I think it's gonna show us a few things that maybe we're not as well set up on, we maybe need to improve some things, so.
All right. Next, let's move on to item number 6.1. These are the fire department updates with our year-to-date fire calls. Does anybody have any questions for chief about those, or are we good just to move along? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, the consent items. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent item? Second from Gina and a second from Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to old business here. 8.1, council meeting times. Person's got some info for us here.
Yes, so staff put together a survey. I know there was mixed feelings about a survey, whether it's, really how valid it would be, because we can't really prove if someone's a resident. However, this was put together pretty quickly. Melanie did this, and, so this is an option if you would like it posted. And then also council requested we put together a calendar, to show everything that happens in actually the community, count. So this includes the school, the county, the city, anything on Hilltop. So this gives you an idea, and a snippet of what we're dealing with, should we want to look at new times and dates for our council meetings.
So I definitely had concerns over the survey. How do we make sure that one person is filling it out? How do we make sure it's a taxpayer? How do we make sure it's a resident? I mean, what's to stop a kid from filling out 100 of these and turning them in? Is there a way that we could do this through electronic means where one, I guess, IP address has access and they can't fill any more out? Do we require them to write their name on it? I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of options for this to maybe be misused.
And then building on that, the last time the city did, whole city survey, from what I remember, we had a problem with participation, and at what point of I think our bottom line was 10%. We could get 10% of our community to fill out the survey. We thought anything less than 10% wasn't even valid, so that would be another rationale that I would propose on this survey.
I think when it was, the motion that was made, I believe, was made to come back to these meeting times and dates for now and put out a survey, if memory serves. So I think it's in good faith that we do put out the survey. I do wonder, without getting into data privacy things, if we could have them state their address. Because we could have business owners that may not necessarily be property owners, but local business owners that would want to attend or respond to the survey. So I don't know if asking for an address is an acceptable means, or
Even a name,
a name or something that's
public data, it's public information.
We've never taken a survey where I had to give my name and address, and in this climate, I feel like people are gonna be like, what?
Well, the other thing is there's nothing to stop you from writing down anybody's name.
that's fair.
Apple?
50 times. When we talk about operating in good faith, we made a decision first meeting to change it, then it came back and you made a decision to change it at the next meeting. I think this thing is fluctuating quite a bit. So I don't know that a survey is actually in the best interest of the taxpayers' dollars, because seems like there's a lot of opportunities for fraud, I guess.
Speaking of, said if we, at some point, as a council, we do need to respect, what decisions we made and then follow through. So if we made the decision to do the survey, I suppose we should do the survey, but, and then changing and not changing. I mean, we've done that a few times. I've heard that when something comes before council and you're on the side that, let's say the vote doesn't go your way. You're not the one that can bring it forward again, but the people that voted in favor of it, if they have new information, they can bring it forward. So, I mean, I think we should pay attention to that. We can't go backwards. We can't go to the past, but yeah, to save some of that push pull, thing. So if I voted in favor of changing the meeting times and Dan voted to not, then you can't bring it up, but I could. I could say, you know what, I made that decision. I have new information. I'd like to bring it back.
I would think the people that want
Anyways, just.
meeting time changed, if they want the time changed, they would participate in the survey. We can look at the survey, and if it doesn't, we're gonna vote how we wanna vote anyway, so. We look at the survey, we see what comes back, as a council person, you can use the information, or you can just throw it away.
An option could be too, that we post online that, we have the survey available at City Hall. So please come in and fill it out and give it to us. And then there's nothing online, there's no Survey Monkey, where you can't verify who they are.
Surveys are free. I think the goal here is to engage the public in more ways than we have in the past. And this is something, if we put it out and people want to engage in it, they're going to engage in it. If they're not going to engage in it, they're not going to engage in it. But it gives us another opportunity as council people, in my opinion, to hear from what the public wants to do instead of trying to sit in this chair and decide. You hear from folks. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if we make it available online, we did it for like this building for volunteers, for instance, like it was just a real easy QR code that people could click on, and then it would fill out a form and send it off to a pre-designated email address. Like, I don't know.
There's other factors involved in this. We got a staff sitting there. Are we gonna have them here at both meetings? I mean, that's something we need to talk about. And then, and if we are gonna have them here at both meetings, what time is that other meeting? This is probably a little better for them, but although they've got things, I'm sure they're all saying, I wish I was doing this right now. But I'm here, I get to listen to Dave. But
Suggestion, since new council members, fill their seats, the first meeting of the month. Perhaps we can, have this discussion every January and decide at the February meeting what our calendar looks like for the year. We did something similar to that at one time. That included like Laura's calendar for the year. So we have these discussions, the new council comes in, we make that decision in January and we publish it
But part of what brought us back to this and what brought the meetings back is that there's an ordinance that exists, that the ordinance will need to be changed to be able to do that. So that's part of the reason why we're continuing to have this conversation, because the ordinance says that we can't just willy-nilly change the dates.
The ordinance said that it had to be by vote of the council. That was the last line. I think
That's
the ordinance has enough gray area that you could do it. I don't disagree that it should probably be a language change to update it. To your point, that was the thing I was trying to do, was change it in January instead of in December. If the new counselors are the ones that are voted in to replace the old seats, and they were voted in because people wanted that change, I think that's an important concept. The survey, we brought in the validation of that for 315 Main, and the league told us that it's ultimately up to the vote of the people to elect counselors that look in their best interest. A survey doesn't really tell you anything, because who is it? Is it a kid? Is it an adult? Is it a taxpayer? Is it a business owner? Is it outside the city limits? Is it inside city limits? And then you post that online or you have them come in. I mean, they took the effort to vote for you to try and drive their agenda forward. And now you're going to make them fill out a survey. And are they going to feel guilted by coming into City Hall and trying to put a nighttime meeting when they have all of the city staff saying, well, I want a daytime meeting. I don't want a nighttime meeting. So I'm going to look at you weird because you got a nighttime meeting, There's all these extra things, and you guys do whatever you want. I don't think a survey is a good idea. And I want to be respectful to people that work during the daytime and complain that the council is making a lot of decisions during daytime meetings. If this was truly a workshop meeting like it was originally intended, I think that would resolve a lot of headaches. But all the votes historically in the last 4 years seem like they're always on daytime meetings when a lot of people can't come in. And that working class that's paying the taxes and staying here are all thinking, well, it's time to get out of Pine City and let those guys sing. So,
Well, I made the comment, we did one meeting. I still stick by that because I've sat around for the last 30-some years and watched, I don't know how many different councils have work sessions and they turn into council meetings. So we just got to decide what we're going to do. I mean, if we're going to have a work session, I think that's what you have. And don't call it a council meeting. If we have to call a special meeting, we can do it with 2 people. So it's really not a problem.
So building on what Dave said, I'm okay with the schedule right now. I just happen to be one of those working class people that work a lot of evenings. But following the ordinance, in the past, what I feel like we've done is mostly that Thanksgiving or Christmas meeting, if that falls too close to the holiday, out of respect for staff and, other council members, we have just either eliminated that Thursday meeting, which I think we can do. And then to Dave's point, having a special meeting is still following the ordinance if we have a topic that we need to meet frequently on. So for me, I think the meetings are working. If the complaints are about, doing business, too much business on a day time, I think we can be more mindful of that and not do that. I don't care if we eliminate it altogether. I just know that, I have to take off work when it's in the evening and I don't mind doing that once or twice, but as you can see, we have a lot of meetings. Next thing you know, I've used up a week of vacation on the meetings that just.
I just want as much public involvement as possible, and I've never heard look, here we are at another 10:30 meeting, and there's nobody. Every 10:30 meeting that I came to before I was,
Terry,
I'm sorry, Terry.
Sorry, Terry.
Sorry, Terry, nobody. It's not what I meant. And Eric, thank you. 10:30s aren't well attended. And I'm been elected, this is my 4th meeting, and I've contemplated one meeting, but we haven't had an agenda yet that hasn't been back and forth 2 pages long. We have a lot of things that we're facing. I don't think, I don't support one meeting, but whatever time.
I think this is a good agenda to take a look at. There's the consent items, which were the minutes, which could be done on the next agenda too, and the check register. Committee updates is just general information. New business is mostly general information and discussion, except for this agreement at 9.5. And also 9.3. So there's very little on this agenda that needs a decision from council, other than just updating.
Right, but it is February, and if we do go to one meeting with the work session, that gives the taxpayer 10 to 12 times to bring something before council if it needs to be a public meeting or something that they only have 11 opportunities a year to do it. I don't think that's fair. That's just my opinion.
And in the past, the main concern was being able to get things for planning published and, all that. That's the dance that has happened. And it hasn't been okay getting things approved and published. Okay. So that's good.
Okay, I guess I would like to see the survey published. In my opinion, any tool is a useful tool. It's how useful that tool actually ends up being. So I think even if you can cut through the nefarious data, that's someone just randomly filling it out. I think that's usually easy to see, or we put it out for a couple weeks and we don't get anything that's useful out. We're out an hour or so of staff time and we move on, and then we still end up just making a decision anyway. So,
Is that your motion?
There's already been a motion. We've already approved.
I think that because
We've already approved a survey.
we already approved the survey, so I say if we need, Nicole, do you have a?
So could we put a box at the office? Because there's people who come in to pay their water bills. We can have the survey paper there. They can fill it out. We know their residents are paying their water bills. And we can put it in a little box.
I personally, I don't mind that at all, but I do personally also like the anonymity of an online survey.
Did you get a chance to look at this? Is there anything you want to change on it?
The tech guy likes it online.
Surprise.
I like saving trees, so online's good too, but
Well, it could be a learning opportunity for us as a whole. Who knows what we can learn out of this process to move surveys forward and maybe use them as a more useful tool in the future.
I'm okay with that too.
Did you read through it? Did you like the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was a lot, but
I would like to note in the meeting notes though that I strongly object to this action. I believe it's,
Well, I think it's just, it goes back to my comment, you know, as a council person, you'll vote the way you want to vote, and it isn't gonna matter how many surveys or what we do. So let's just do we voted to do the survey. I don't know why we're talking about this to begin with. Survey should have been done. So-
yeah, I mean, it should, but again.
Well, you need to
Right,
approve this. survey.
Right, the survey, yeah, approve the survey, but
So
we should be
need an
debating
action to approve it because the last action was to bring
To
it back.
create it.
to create it.
we have, what's our population right now?
Okay.
3,500. So if we have 10 people that fill this out, there are 10 people that are interested in what's going on at council meetings, and 10 people is not a certain percentage of 3,500. The people that are going to fill out the survey are going to be more interested in what's going on at council, I think. So it's gonna be a little, it's gonna give us results, but it's gonna be skewed. Like asking a bunch of firefighters how they feel about fire trucks.
Yeah.
Didn't feel the way that I just.
Like it was.
Anyways, I don't care. Survey. And thank you for whoever put all the time into making.
So we need a motion.
Do we need a motion to approve the survey and,
To be posted online.
okay,
If you could just let it get clarification for us, so we.
okay. I will proceed. I will make the motion that, we move forward with the survey, post it online, have the availability for paper copies at City Hall if desired. And we run it for
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And not add address. Correct.
Correct.
Could question one be, like, are you interested in attending council meetings, yes or no?
Oh,
Okay, because if you're not interested in attending council meetings, I don't want your opinion on what time they should be,
That's fair.
you know? So I don't know if that means add,
Well, the answers would be the same. So,
you know, in like the little boxes, if no, stop here.
Throw in that.
Yes, what do you feel about it?
Would they only be interested in coming to council meetings if they could come? And maybe the simplest answer is, what time would you like the council to meet? Nighttime or evening? Erase all the other questions because it's irrelevant information and just figure out what would get them to come to the meeting.
well, that's true. You can actually get it down to like 2 questions.
Yeah.
We might get
Yeah,
bigger.
I think we're gonna get a bigger sample size the
Yeah.
fewer questions we have.
And then if we had 100 people fill it out and they said, no, they're not interested in coming to council meetings, we would understand. And then if we had 120 of them wanted to come, and out of that 20 that want to come, they want it only in the evening, that gives us at least some kind of information. Otherwise, I'm sorry, I knew this was gonna be a tough one to create, because
We are in the weeds right now.
We are so in the
We are
weeds.
way out in the weeds with this thing.
Other than Terry and Eric and staff and Mr. Swanson until recently, the only reason that people are gonna come is there's gonna be a topic on the agenda that they really wanna talk about. And the deciding factor is gonna be what their preferred time is. And that's really the only information that I really care about. I don't really care about trying to give them donuts to get them here for any other meeting or anything. Just what time would make it most likely for them to come.
I think we could get this down to 3 or 4 questions and get it posted.
let's do that.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt some of the information like you got on here. For
Yeah.
The streamlining of the online, you know, maybe have a note at the bottom, just understand that this is available and you can, you know, it doesn't have to be a question, it could be just informational.
Cause you can see by the online viewing, people are watching us online. So,
That could be part of the survey too. Did you know council meetings are available
Yeah.
to participate in?
this is
online?
number 6, yeah.
Trying to help get us out of the weeds. I think we should, because we have, this great crew that's leading our city administratively, I think we should try and, until this decision is made, make these 10:30 meetings more discussion and not make decisions. I mean, if we have to for something that needs to go through planning, then so be it. But, at least hold ourselves to that until we have something firm.
If that
Pump
is
the
the
brakes
direction,
here. We gotta get back to the survey.
yeah,
We had a motion on the floor, but then we went into changing questions and so
Okay.
where are we going here? We changing questions? I'll amend my motion to say, let's make this question simple, let's break it down, let's get to what times work best for you to attend a city council meeting? Morning or night? And did you know that we're live streaming? Does that resolve your issue? Or does that resolve your concern? Comments maybe at the end, maybe we don't really need extra comments, but just keeping it simple and short and sweet.
So that's your motion.
That's my motion.
I'll second your motion.
And we run for 2 weeks. So I motioned by Kent and a second by Gina. Is there any further discussion by council? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
I,
Motion carried. All right, let's next move on to 8.2 Midco dark fiber agreement with the city of Pine City.
Okay, real quick update on this. Midco thought the suggestion was great to add that possible one-time move. So they were doing that. I heard from Steve. Real quick, and he wasn't sure it would be back in time, and I got it last night. So I wasn't gonna throw it on because I know you guys want to look at it, and all he did basically, I didn't really look through it completely, but he redlined it where he's adding the courtesy move, and that will be on the next agenda for council review and approval, if so. That's just my update. Okay. That's just my update, that now it is back as of last night, but it's not on the agenda, so.
so we should be seeing a written proposal sometime in the near future. And we'll have that in enough time so that we can review it before bringing it before the council. At least as far as counselors go.
And if you want to go back and look at the previous ones posted, the only addition on there will be the courtesy move. So if you haven't looked at the Midco agreement, it'll be the same with just that additional.
I think just the final, I don't want to assume that the courtesy was the only thing that they changed.
Perfect, yeah, if you can get to that house as soon as it. Just plenty of time to review before the next meeting, that would be great. We can go from there, it's a doozy of a contract.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion on the Midco agreement? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business, 9.1 personnel policy update.
Okay, so that's just an update that Melanie and I have been working on this. It's almost done and was not ready for this agenda. However, it will be ready for the next agenda.
And then it'll be published and the
Yeah.
redacted part will be in red, like all those fun
Yeah,
things.
it's actually pretty well redacted. We are going off of the League of Minnesota Cities suggested policy. If you were to look at our personnel policy now, there's page 10 will tell you you can do this, page 14 will say it's prohibited. So we're looking for uniformity and then each staff member will, once council approves, each staff member will receive a copy of the personnel policy plus a signature page acknowledging that they've received it.
And then any changes, we used to be required to turn in our old copy before we got our new, so that nobody's looking at the old copy and so that, like, it's assigned to, I mean,
I can't confirm who even has it, because I know I was never given one.
would that be a nice way, a nice addition to that because
Okay.
for anybody that it affects.
Perfect. Any other comments on the personnel policy updates? All right, next one, move on to item number 9.2, the 2025 fee schedule.
It was proposed that, because we currently have it as a, ordinance is our fee schedule. And there was some council concern that maybe it should just be as a regular policy and not as an, ordinance. However, the league highly recommends that it stay in ordinance, and she's sent lots of backup information as to why they support that. So, I just wanted to give that update to those who were thinking it needed to be changed to a policy, where because specifically they say due to the utility billing, like the water rates, it's set, have it as an ordinance. That's, one of their main concerns is it's set as an ordinance like that. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments from council? Hearing none, we'll move on to.
I guess one thing, I would like to know the pros and cons between both options. I like the league's information, but I want to take it with a grain of salt because they're not the actual enforcement body. They're agency that interprets to their best interest on how they think governments and cities should govern. And so I guess as far as ordinance and as far as policy, I'd like to see how that would lay out and what the pros and cons are before both options.
Okay, I'll forward everything she sent me to you about that, well, all of you about that.
Thank you.
But ultimately, it's your decision. You don't, yeah.
Then I would think for ordinance committee too, that would be, we need to keep that committee monthly. And that fee schedule should be on old business
Constantly.
constant, in case there's anything that needs to be.
That makes sense. That makes some sense.
Agreed.
All right, any further comments there? Okay, next we'll move on to item number 9.3, the Pines, 2025 Pine City standalone barrier.
So last summer, residents came before council to let us do the application for the study. The study is at no charge to the city. How do I open this? So,
It's a download and it's an Excel document that's big and I just messed mine. I just start over.
okay, I just want this little screen to go away. Do you know how to do the evidence?
Real have Excel on this.
Okay, so you probably, can I move this? Okay, so I went ahead and applied, council gave permission for us to apply for the study, which is free to the city. They said we are an excellent candidate for that location, as it would be a significant decrease in the sound to those residents. We were actually the only application in all of Minnesota for this study this year. So got ours done very quickly. And they're wanting to know the direction we would like to go. This would be done in 2028. It is I can look at the screen. I want to say it's a 90-10. So the state does take on 90% of the cost. The 10% the city would have is behind that box, which I want to say is $73,000.
78.
Okay. So that would be what is responsible for the city's responsibility. There's options where this is actually assessed to those properties who are receiving the benefit. They are looking for direction if we're interested. And we can probably make the decision on the first meeting in March. They're looking for a decision very quickly.
And that was just for along Fourth, right? It wasn't on the north side of the river?
It's on, like, when you exit on
There's a map.
yeah, there is
Yeah.
so it's right here. And these are the homes that benefit. And he said it's a significant reduction. It comes down to, like, per home, I want to say, he said $12,000 to $15,000 per home if we were to assess versus.
And I believe that those were the homes that asked us to look into this. I know they had some different thoughts on how that cost should be spread out, but my thought was the same thought as last summer. They asked for this, it's a benefit to them, we assess them. This cost does not get spread out throughout the rest of the city.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed because I did reach out to them and ask them to attend the meeting so they could be here while you were looking at the presentation and. So,
There is an argument to be made though, with empirical data from where these have been put in other communities, that it is a benefit to the entire community because the length, the height and the width of the fence will have noise reduction throughout the whole region.
it's that one.
Yep.
So those were my two questions. What's their criteria for deciding who it benefits? Because science tells me that, yeah, the community would benefit some, but how do they decide who benefits? And then if we split that, we'd have to get that in the budget. Once we made a decision, that price would be locked in, whether we assess it or the city covers the cost.
Correct. And they're looking for an answer.
So I'll flip argument to your point is when we do road assessments, that benefits the entire city, but 23% of that goes on the adjacent property owners that directly benefit for being along that stretch. This probably has a benefit to the significant part of the city, but that 10% has a significant impact on those individuals that want it. Should they not pay that assessment to stay in line with our street attack assessments?
That's a deep conversation. I feel that our assessment policy needs to be reworked and relooked at the way that we do things. And for me, that would support my position on that. I don't feel that the way that we do street assessments now is in line with how other communities and even how the state recommends that we do it, and that needs to be changed.
Well, it's gonna cut down the noise. I mean, right now, we don't have our windows open, but in the summertime where I am, them guys coming off the freeway, slowing down, these trucks slowing down to get off, going southbound. They hit their Jake brakes and then boom, and you have to listen to that. I mean, it comes through pretty darn clear. That's gonna block some of that. It's gonna block a lot of that. I don't know if you've ever been down to the beach, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of people have, on a Friday night or something. You can't hardly carry on a conversation. I mean, it's gotta help. It can't hurt.
I think it benefits certain individuals and certain properties, but it doesn't benefit the entire city. Now, if you're saying that my house is protected from the sound barrier 35, I'd welcome you to come and listen to my house with 61 right outside the window. Are you gonna put up a sound barrier for that? Probably not. Again,
Somebody that lived there wanted one.
I think this came up though because it's available, because of funding. Not that there's a few places that couldn't use a sound barrier, but I think because the funding was available, so I don't think we can ignore the 90-10.
Well, I think it benefits
split,
me.
which is-
And it doesn't, maybe it doesn't benefit you, but I think it benefits me and it would benefit me in the summertime. Now it doesn't matter, because you don't hear anything through the windows, but I think it does have a positive for the community. And a lot of the community uses the swimming beach. Maybe you haven't got a new suit or anything yet lately, but.
what are you saying?
But,
I did spend some time looking into grants that were available to assist with our 10% and
there's nothing,
no.
maybe we could sell full tabs.
This would make more sense to me if it went along the entire perimeter, not just that section.
So in my initial map that I submitted, I did go all the way to the next exit, which is what, 7171? And he called back and said, I'm sorry, there's no way you can afford that. So let's redo your map.
We do it in the Twin Cities. We do it in the Twin Cities, one exit to another.
Mhm.
Well, we know we're gonna have development on that next land. We know Mr. Cares come in and got it subdivided or whatever. And there's gonna be houses there probably or something, so that eventually maybe will be another area that has to be done, but,
So what are you looking for, Ms. Marcy?
yeah.
I'm looking to either have you think about it and we'll make sure we make a decision on the March 5? Or if you would like to make a decision today, because we don't have a lot of time for the state. MinDOT would like to know.
I would make the motion that we, move forward with this, with assessing that last percentage on those properties that directly benefit.
Right, so we've got a motion from Kyle. Do I hear a second?
If someone second, then I'll ask my question so that we don't get.
I'll second it, but I want to amend it.
Can we vote to assess without, notification?
I think you have to have a public hearing.
Oh, I'm not that part. What I would propose is that we use an assessment policy, but I believe half of the benefit of that will benefit other people like me. And I don't have a house sitting right by the freeway, and I hear plenty of it. And I think if they can block some of that coming off of there, that'll block it coming to my house. And the people that use the swimming beach and the picnic area down there and stuff. So I would say that policy should be separate from our normal street assessment policy. And that could be drawn up by the ordinance committee and so, but I would say half. If it was normally, they would be assessed to 23 like you were talking, well, maybe it's 12 and a half. You know, and the other 12 and a half is absorbed by the city. So.
And council could just approve, letting the state know that we are wanting to continue with this and then make the final details of.
Okay, I will amend my motion that I'd like to move forward with this. Let the state know that I'd like to move forward with this, and we'll bring back how to pay for the rest of it.
There you go.
At a different event.
Beat that horse then.
And Dave, you're the second?
I'm the second.
All right, so we've got a motion by Kyle and a second from Dave. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to item number 9.4, social media management from TextMyGov.
Yeah, this was recommended to be added to the agenda, and with some research, we found another city, a neighboring city who uses TextMyGov on their website where
Is it?
you can text, the city, like with information, or the city can get out mass information to their residents, whether if there's a water main break, or if there's, any kind of emergency, or just an FYI, it's used to all those who sign up. So this is just something we found that another city is using it and they love it.
And what's the cost associated with it?
That we don't know yet. Melanie has a meeting arranged or scheduled to get the demo and the price. I know that I just been told it's not that expensive, but I just wanted to let you know about this particular option, and we have a meeting scheduled to learn more about it. I think it's kind of a neat idea.
It reminds me of, back when my children were young and we got the messages on our phone about school is what it reminds me of, but now this will be about our community.
I'd love to be a part of that meeting,
Oh, okay.
if possible.
That could be a link on our website, couldn't it?
Yeah, actually, when you go to the website, it's right there. You click on it and you register yourself on it, and it's neat system.
I think this is super cool. One thing, if there's a possibility, is that this could bring in items that I think would be beneficial to the council to know, not just city employees. It'd be cool to have access to be able to see what those concerns are coming in and then see how they're getting followed up.
Beating the dead horse, we had that software that everything went woo when our last administrator was here. But that's a really interesting point of this, because I think the council is interested in what the not only the complaints, but just the comments or what's going on. And I'd like to do it somewhere different than Facebook community page.
I agree with that.
So I want to build on this just a little bit, and it may take me a minute to crescendo to my point, but we live in an era and an age where information is key, right? And I feel as a citizen and now as a council person that we expect people to search out information. And we live in a society where we don't search out information. If it isn't readily available at a couple of clicks, I'm not gonna look for it. I'm not gonna search it out. That's just kind of the way that it is. For a while, there was an arrangement between the municipality and another organization who would help us in our social media presence. And I don't know if anybody else will agree, but in my experience, this town is a newspaper and a Facebook town, and that is how people get their information. We have tried, we beat our heads against the wall, we've tried utility billings, we've tried direct mailings, but for whatever reason, Facebook and the newspaper are the way that this information gets to town.
Or Eric, sorry. I don't think-
Or Eric, sorry. Yeah.
I listen to the radio.
I listen to the radio.
So we are all aware too how social media works, and it's all driven by algorithms, and algorithms are only good if you engage with the algorithm. So how can we engage with the algorithms better to get information out in front of people? And what I'm suggesting is that we look at entering into an agreement with another third party. It would be an hourly arrangement where we could get, not the department heads, not that you guys do a bad job with managing your Facebook pages and your Facebook feeds, but we could come up with quarterly calendars by department head, what we're gonna put on those Facebook pages. We can use informational campaigns. We can have somebody else helping us drive it so that there's interaction in these algorithms, if not on a daily basis, every couple of days. And then it would be a two-way street where if there's things that need to go on there right away, we could, I mean, department heads would still have the ability to post if they wanted to post, but I feel we have to find a way to get information to people and the way that they consume information instead of trying to beat our heads against the wall. Why aren't people getting the information that we want them to get?
So we had a communications group that was pretty functional. And there's a member of our community that was leading that and trying to get ahead. I mean, there's a lot of cities that have communication specialists, just to stay ahead of some of that. I don't think budgetary wise, we're at the point where we could hire a communication specialist, even though I feel they're needed for towns of all sizes, but.
But I disagree with the budgetary part, because if you look at the budget and the amount of money that we spent on professional services and legal services last year, for $30 an hour for 5 hours a week, I think that we could absorb it.
Okay, touche. Lost me. Oh, I am a fan of the city being able to put information out that they have control over, and I do believe engagement's a part of it, but I like that when we publish something on our website, we have control over it. Not on Facebook, you don't have any control over it, and it just goes wild. And I just don't think communicating our whole city's information only on Facebook is a good idea. Yes, Facebook also, but I think we need to keep control of what we put out there, and our website's a great place to do that, because no one can change it except the city.
The administrator changes what goes on Facebook, and that only the people that have administrative capabilities can make changes or
Right, yep,
input or any of that, so.
right.
I think where it goes wild is maybe in the comment section, and some of that is way out there, but there are some very valid points that get brought up on those things that get posted to Facebook, and it does seem like there's been more interest into what the council is doing ever since that the staff has started posting more things on Facebook. I don't know that anybody goes to the website hardly ever anymore. So the notices that have been going out, it seems like people are receiving them very well. I know we can't control what's in the comments other than maybe shutting them down or deleting them, but there are some valid comments in there that I think as a counselor has been beneficial to talk about.
I could be showing my age, I just, you know, I just think that the city should be in charge of their message, and engaging in all that needs to be ancillary to us putting our information out there officially.
So wrapping it back here into the text mega situation, I think that's something that we need to move forward with. I think we could have talks for hours on having social media managers and things like that being part of our city. I think that's something that's important. We need to make sure, to Dan's point, that the people are getting the information the way that they're taking in information. But I think in the spirit, and that's something that we definitely need to discuss more and learn more about. But I think we need to bring it back to the item on the table being the text mic up, and I think I would personally like to see more information on that. I'm excited to see, I'd love to be involved in the meeting as well if there's space and we're not breaking quorum.
I would like to get pricing on it before I make a decision.
Me too.
For sure, absolutely, for sure.
But back to the management piece too, and just discussion, that at one point in time, the municipality had a great relationship with the chamber, and the chamber would post information. And per last administrator, whatever happened, that just went away. So that is part of what I'm trying to suggest, is how do we re-engage that relationship so that we can get information out to people again. It's nothing new. It's just how do we get people information the way that they consume information, and stop trying to dictate how people get their
Yeah,
information.
or be responding to something negative. That's the other, one of my least favorite things. Like, we should try as much as we can to be out ahead of it instead of just,
We still have the ability to give it to the chamber. The chamber, we are a chamber member. And all we have to do is send them the information. I read their newsletters every week. And
But that's what I'm saying.
we could put that in there anyway,
We
Dan.
can, but we don't have a policy, we don't have a calendar, we don't have any content, but there's a lot that we can do, but we don't, because it doesn't belong to anybody.
So you're looking for a policy to inform the chamber so that they can push out or disperse that information.
Yeah,
if she decides that she wants to partner with her.
we've already I've had conversations with her loosely. And the chamber does have interest, and there is confusion again as to why that relationship went away. And again, this is more driven by hearing from people that your website is awful and we have a hard time finding information.
I actually just reached out to our website yesterday to get that all completely updated.
Yeah. It's.
I like the idea. I'd like to bring it back for, I guess, old discussion or new business. To have a discussion about what that policy would look like between us and the chamber. Obviously, we don't want to give out sensitive customer information. But as far as updates, it would be nice to see that bridge built back up again.
And put the guardrails in place that need to be there.
I agree with that as well.
So right now, it's just a update on text my gov.
Mhm.
You're gonna bring it back for future discussion. Cool.
All right, next we'll move on to item 9.5 for the QHOA agreement.
Tabitha's here to explain that situation.
So with the approving of the plat and lot lines, it was founded that the city is actually in an HOA with the Mickeys. The agreement was never set up. Our members were never set to be completed. The only reason that a meeting would ever happen is if their little code would be to be dredged out. These documents came from their attorney and like them reviewed by you guys as we think the should have these in place.
My question is this the same covenant that is in place for Thomason Park?
Correct.
In Thomason Park, we have no ability to do anything with that, correct?
Correct. That is why this is kind of getting brought up because it's kind of for that area. I know Brock is also working with them. They're willing to work with the city on getting it cleaned up as well.
We
There's
have a-
other options on the table as well.
There is ability to do things with Thomas Park. It's very clear in the covenant of what the city can do and what it can't do. It's defined, it's measured, it's mapped, it's very clear.
I guess I would be looking for some clarity because it seemed like there was very limits or extreme limits to what the city could and couldn't do with that.
There are limits of what you could and couldn't do, but it's very well defined as to what you can and can't do. There can be a trail, it can go right here, it can be cleared
That's good.
of non-native, yeah.
So
I spent a lot of time researching this
I
part.
thought it was buckhorn out there.
Buckthorn can be removed because it's non-damaged.
Maybe if Brock is working with them, they're just not very receptive of the potential. So there is other things potentially.
I guess I'll be pretty straightforward. I don't like having property donated to the city where the city is limited on what they can do because it seems like people wanna avoid taxes and control what goes on across the creek. I think if the city owns it, the city should be able to develop it for the betterment of everybody who's carrying that tax purpose. I mean, if this agreement benefits them and allows that to keep happening, I don't want it. I don't even want Thomas Park at the point where I'd rather just give it back to them.
That is an option that is being explored.
We're giving them Thomas Park back.
Correct.
Cause
And or one of them mentioned that it was positive.
would the league look at this for us in a contract way and?
Part of this issue.
This was, I thought everything was done and then all of a sudden it came an email. This is all we got.
Explain how that would work. They would take it back, we would lose that parcel, and then there would be no restriction, or we would not be required to have any kind of HOA or special agreements with them.
Sounds pretty clear to me.
That sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but
I mean, the city was gifted the property over 17 years ago and hasn't done a thing to it. There hasn't even been footsteps on there hardly in 17 years. So why would we continue to hold something in covenant that we're never gonna do anything with because we can't, or we're afraid to, or can't get clear definition, or we get,
Pretty
Yeah,
sure we
fish
didn't
on.
even know it was there. Yeah, so we did the Google mapping when we
It was a
were trying to
recent
fix
exchange
that.
on Google and tried that.
well, there's a lot of community members that have been driving it for a number of years to try to get the city to do something with it to make it usable again, but it has fallen on deaf ears and it's never gone anywhere. So there's been a lot of conversation over the last 5 years anyway that I know of, that people know they used it as when they were kids. They know that it belongs to the city, but there it sits and the city won't do anything with it. So
Say the kid that lived on that road, I did not know that city property.
it does have good wild asparagus on it, but
yeah. Yeah, yeah, give it back. It's just causing headaches.
Are we deciding giving it? Because again, we're in the weeds and I just feel like,
Well, that would be a counter offer to what they're requesting, just like half of that.
Do we want to give it back or sell it back?
I'm not prepared.
Because it
I'm
wasn't,
not even a little bit prepared to make a decision on
Okay, why don't
whether we're
we-
keeping
why don't we
parks
just
or not.
Keep this as a discussion and this can
Yes.
come back to the first meeting in March. That gives you 2 weeks to kind of think about this and Tabitha can also reach out and get there. I know they're out of the state right now, so
the other thing is that this has been on the Parks and Rec agenda. We've talked about it. We've never wanted to do anything about it. Keep pushing it out. We haven't gained taxes on it in 17 years. We're looking at covenants and lawyer fees and all that sort of thing and headaches with time. My thought, they gave it to us. We just gave it back to them.
they did not give it to us.
We gave it the
My
church.
thought was just to leave it alone and finish all the other park projects that we have and come back to this with some
So this
thoughtful
only came up.
approach.
That's not what you
But
said. You
they're-
said you wanted to wait till the council was set today before you made any other decisions.
The,
Okay,
Yeah, this only came up because of their.
That's
refund.
fine.
This wasn't a pursuit
Yeah.
thing.
the trouble is that if
It
we
is.
own it and it's a park and somebody goes back there and gets hurt or causes some damage or does something, there is gonna be a liability on the city at that point. If we try and develop it or put pass through there, are we gonna get into a legal battle about what we did and didn't do for the covens? Are we gonna get into a discussion on what thorn was cut out and what red pine was left and that sort of thing? Give it back to them. We start collecting taxes on it again. If they want to figure out a different agreement to gift it back to the city, fine, we'll entertain it at that idea, but right now it's not doing us any value and it's probably actually creating more of a liability for us to have it in our possession.
Who gave it to us, like church?
The church did. But the only reason that this came up is because they did their replat of the property.
Right.
It means that none of this documentation was done. That's why this door was open. Rob had already opened the door with him. I'm trying to figure out how we change this covenant so the city can do something with it.
So this is listed under our assets as far as, and so we have a coverage on the insurance then. So I'm worried about.
I make a motion that we give it back. So that we're out of the HOA encumbrance.
I'll second that.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle and a second from Dave. All those or is there any further discussion at this point? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I,
Motion carries. All right, then we will move on to,
I have a question though. How did reviewing this HOA turn into a decision about owning a park without that being on the agenda? That's kind of a,
Well, the HOA, the park is in the HOA and that's how the discussion starts. Is what do we want to do with this? Either sign and agree to it or get rid of it.
okay, that's fair, but I don't see anywhere where it says on our agenda, make a decision on whether we want to give Thomas Park back. And we just took action at a morning meeting without, proper notification or all the things that we've been talking about that we don't like. I'm not saying it's even a bad idea. I just don't know. I didn't do any conversation or research about deciding whether or not to give Thomas Park back. And I think allowing this decision to be made like this is probably not very ethical. I mean, do you think that perhaps I know that you have engaged with the McHughes, but as a council in the church, I just feel like I don't have enough information. And again, not saying that wouldn't agree with it. I just feel like this was kind of blindsided.
Gina, you made the comment that we got a lot of parks that we need to finish and get done anyway. I think if we all look at what, in the total picture, what our budget is like and what's gonna be like for quite a few years down the road here, I think we need to cut our
I'm
losses
not
right now.
disagreeing with that, but I think it should be published that we're making a decision about some park property that has been given to us without proper notification. And that's just how I feel about it. I thought
guess
we were
I'm
looking at this
confused
homeowners,
because-
to either deny this or approve this, is what I thought.
Well, the only way that we'd be part of the HOA would be through Thomas and Park, so that was brought to us for some kind of agreement on the HOA on the agenda, which was publicly made. I mean, I'm guessing that they were looking for us to sign off on this and go with it. We just threw out a different curveball to them. And my guess is that they could come back to us and say, no, we absolutely don't want it back. Or they could come back to us and say, yep, we'll sign it and we'll take it back.
but wasn't ever theirs to take back, I guess, as I am unclear on that as well. So that reflects the way I voted, because I don't feel as though I had enough information to.
That's all I'm
So
saying.
Other than looking
I'm
at.
not
at the
disagreeing
documents
maybe that
from-
the decision
that's-
will be the right one. I just am blindsided that that's the way it went.
Who gave it to the church?
The church, I thought you said the church gave it to the church.
The Covens was that given to the church by the parcel.
Who gave it to the church?
Probably the church will have to pay tax.
I have no idea. That's why I feel like we're making a decision that's a little quick, but we already voted. I just am, I want it to be known that I think that we probably should have listed this differently, because when I went through an agenda, I discussed whether or not we were gonna approve the officers of a HOA on their own property. That's what I thought we were approving. There's no memo saying, if we do this, we're members of HOA with the park, or if we give this away, there's no memo attachment, it's just, oh, it looks very straightforward, approve this. Members of the HOA, which is the mom, the dad, and the son.
Is the vote to give it back to who we got it from or to give it to the McHughes,
No idea.
What was to give it back,
to the church,
just to give it back?
to who we got it from?
Wherever.
Just
Well, I
church.
think we need to know that.
It was gifted to the church and the covenants had something in place so that if the church couldn't handle it, it could be gifted on, which I think the city was listed for that, but it had to stay under those covenants where nothing could hardly be done with it.
Who gave it to the church?
It's a property. It's an
Oh. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
So,
If you want to change it, I can't bring it up, so you'd have to bring it, a different counselor would have to bring it up, to change the vote.
no, I think because it went your way, we voted no, we can't bring it up. It would have to be someone that voted yes. I think it's the way the ethics go. Like you'd have to say, you know, I voted yes, but I have new information I'd like to just bring back. Just because we lost, that means like when you lose the vote, you can't keep bringing it up. It's what we're trying to avoid. Even though I have to change it.
So you want it to go back to just that we're disapproving or approving the agreement? And not deal with the property changing hands?
Whole HOA covenant.
I would be agreed to the,
Can you help us, Tabitha, with,
Boy, would, but I mean.
are we approving the
I would want to
covenant
go back
here?
to, I don't.
You're approving the HOA with a covenant.
And it's always been an HOA, it just hasn't been assigned. Okay, so this
It's
changes.
been an HOA, but there's no documents in place, and then the covenant is listing who is involved, and then, so it's listing the city and the McHughes are the only ones that can make decisions on that property.
Okay, so it is just my opinion that we need, as a council person, need to have a conversation or hear what your conversations with the McHughes were.
I have the email, and this is all that was sent, and I can read it if you would like, or I can give it to you.
I think a more in-depth conversation about the future of this park and what their role was and is in it. I think it's only fair and respectful in the church to all parties involved to have
To be honest,
a public.
I've been confused on their exact role in the park altogether.
based on the covenants, I think it's pretty clear cut on what their intentions were.
And why 17 years later now is it important to have conversations with all the parties involved? I mean, there's been nothing done with this property since it was gifted, so it's,
Well, just because we
It's
have
just
to
a
give it to
liability.
someone, yes, but that was.
it's all, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but in the original agreement, it states very clearly who it would revert back to.
Okay, that would be good public knowledge to put that in this packet. That'd be great if we have all that information and I could have reviewed that and like,
I don't,
you don't have that, but you have that. And again, I'm not disagreeing that that might be the way I vote. I don't have the same information you have, nor does the public. And so in order of transparency, I think we all need to be looking at the same information when we make decisions.
Entering into an HOA agreement, which I'm guessing would probably be a 50-50 split between the city and Q is kind of like having a 50-50 agreement between the public and the city on posting information on the city's website. You just said that you want to control it, but in this case, you're not really gonna have any control. My guess is if anything comes in for financials or you need a big push, the thought is gonna be to put that demand onto the city.
Again, not disagreeing with, potentially disagreeing with how it voted. I just feel like we didn't have enough information publicly and to myself to make a good decision.
I think the decision was great.
okay. Let's move on to item number 9.6, 2025 swimming lessons.
This was also requested to be on the agenda. There is concern about that, area because Quick Trip will be under full development and construction at that time of swimming lessons. So, would you have any more discussion?
When Quick Trip came before planning last year, one of the things that came out of planning and through conversations was that we were gonna need to do something about that side of town, parking zoning, to be able to limit how vulnerable roadway users were gonna be protected over there. That got blown into a complete redo of zoning, and it's now almost March and we still don't have anything in place over there. Through Parks Committee meetings, through some other meetings, there's been a lot of ordinance meeting, there's been a lot of concern about what are we gonna do to be able to protect people over there this year. I don't have all the details, but it sounds like the program itself may be undergoing some changes and some modifications, the swimming lessons and the beach itself. I think that we need to consider not having swimming lessons over there for the 2025 season. Try to come up with some potential, alternate transportation, maybe to provide for families to go to other aquatic centers, Rush City, Hinkley, Moore. There's several around us. So that's what I wanted to discuss. Because we need to get out in front of it. I think we may be a little bit behind it at this.
I agree with the concern for people's safety, especially with all the heavy equipment that's gonna be bouncing around in the future Quick Trip location here next summer. I hate to just flat out remove a service that so many of our community members take advantage of. So I think if we're going to not have swimming lessons this year, I think it's essential that we work out some sort of program to get these kids off to one of the other local communities for swimming lessons if need.
Mr. Maury,
Will that area be fenced off for construction, you know?
Would be what?
Will it be fenced off or will it be cordoned off to the public?
That's a great question. The way our ordinance reads, they don't have to have fencing. They might put up hurricane fencing, they might not,
Was it asked to put it,
but it's not.
but we don't have anything to enforce that.
There's, at this point in time, there is one crosswalk and it runs from north to south. To the very south end where Cavlin's used to be. That's the only, otherwise they have to go all the way up to the top of the hill to cross over safely. Their sidewalk, the sidewalk splits, so the sidewalk only goes on the south side to just past that little fishing park and then it terminates. And then it picks up on the north side, but there's nowhere to cross the street. And if that'll be there or not, if they're gonna remove sidewalk and then put it back, I haven't seen plans, so.
so have we spoke, I think Quick Trip, would be a partner in this conversation as well. Because if the roads aren't closed down or anything, I mean, I don't know, because part of me envisions maybe part of the road will be closed down for part of the time, but maybe not, I don't know.
That was
No,
discussed at planning too, and any of the opportunity that we had to put in traffic control requirements or traffic control barriers were booted by the county, and the planning commission also said that it wasn't important. So we're past, we can ask them, they may say yes, but we're past the point where we can interject anything and say you have to put traffic control devices in. All they would have to do is go to flaggers to get them in and out safe.
So if Quick Trip obviously does this a lot, and they probably have, I think they've been a very good partner with us with, answering our questions or, coming up with solutions. But if the roads aren't closed, I don't understand why we couldn't still have swimming lessons. I do think it's a concern, but I think Quick Trip would be a good partner in this conversation.
Because you're gonna have dump trucks, you're gonna have contractor trucks, you're gonna have everybody that's already using that area for traffic, plus all of that on top of it with no traffic control device, no stoplights,
When we,
nothing, no crosswalks, and we're just good luck.
when we did that road construction, 3 years ago, did we cancel swimming lessons? When we worked on that whole road, we ripped the whole road up? No? And were trucks coming in and out? Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't protect, but if we didn't cancel swimming lessons when we had the whole road ripped up, I don't know how construction on the site would be much different. Still concerning, safety's still a concern.
It's a huge concern. And how do we pay out of our budget to protect people? Because that'll be money that we have to spend for traffic control, signage, any of that kind of stuff that we want to do.
Well, when we had the whole road ripped up, we didn't close it down. It wasn't,
I don't suppose we have the ability to put up temporary fencing on our side with that duration, do we?
Typically in a construction project like that, no, you have to leave the right of way open and available for contractors that may be doing infrastructure improvements, because all that stuff goes in the right of way.
For the right of way, I mean temporary fencing inside the park. They're not gonna be using construction, they're not gonna be leaving dump trucks in the parking lot, are they? I don't know.
no, or
No,
So
I don't know.
do you guys that actually do the swimming have concerns about safety with construction? I mean, I shouldn't word it like that. Do you think we should cancel swimming lessons and try to shift potential swimmers out of town? I don't know how you feel about, I don't know. I think that's in your wheelhouse there.
I think it was pretty straight.
Again, if we put the information out, what's going on, so people, I would think everybody's gonna know that's gonna be going on, but just use our website, use our informational methods.
I hate
We can ask the radio station to make an announcement.
last year
Are
was
you
such a
proposing
band
just
for lessons. I hate to.
Shutting down swim lessons or shutting up each other?
Just swimming lessons. It's been conversed at Parks Committee level, it's been conversed at other committee levels, it's been conversed amongst the community. That's why I brought it forward. It's because there's a number of people who have said, this is a concern.
When they bring in swim lessons, they just drop off kids. Do parents stick around to watch their kids, or do they kind of drop them off, some leave, some stay, that sort of thing?
there's both stay.
Do they stay?
There's some folks.
Do they stay?
Not all.
Cause if they're using the beach, in theory, your parent is gonna be there watching you, observing you, or some kind of adult. The lifeguard is there. Swimming lessons increases the number of people there, and it puts a toll on the lifeguards who are already making sure that nobody drowns. I don't know that I want them focusing on people having to run out on the road, so I do agree with Mr. Swanson, either canceling it or putting up a fence so that there is some kind of barrier there. Maybe it's time to make a road through the cemetery and have loop in there or something.
Help me.
Are we making a decision on this today? Or is this in from, yes, Marie?
Can somebody reach out to Quick Trip and find out if they are putting up a perimeter fence?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I didn't
I
know.
mean, I would almost bet they will, especially on the residential side of things.
I think they're a good partner in the conversation about this. How will your construction affect our community activities?
But we had these meetings already before we approved the permits.
Have people signed up for the swim lessons for this upcoming year already or not?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
have not posted anything.
So if we did reroute them to a different outlet, my guess is that we would list out areas that they could go and do it. And that would be the responsibility to go do it with the communication that they would be coming back in 2026 if they want to with the city of Pine City. It's very low cost, it keeps a lot of people safe, and it's very easy to do. It's a good idea. If we're paying for swim lessons for somewhere else, that might not make sense, but it doesn't take a whole lot of sense or a whole lot of work to put it on the website. and give people that option.
That's another, like the way you put that, that's another option. There's going to be construction in the area. If this is a problem for you, here's other alternatives where your children can attend swimming lessons.
But then you're potentially having a program where you're gonna have less participation. So
But
it's
we would
gonna
know
cost you
ahead of
more.
time.
And
Yeah, it's true. But we would know ahead of time because you have to register. But I'm afraid canceling swimming lessons after last year banner year of attendees might be the death of swimming lessons. And
But let's be honest, the banner year last year is because it was free.
yeah,
That's the banner. It wasn't because it was an interest level, it was because it was free.
It's also a nice time to take a break to revamp what we have in place and look at the structure, look at how we run it. With the building going on, I feel like this is a nice time for us to take a 1 year off to reestablish our swimming lessons,
Okay.
where
that's, for me, that's a different conversation than talking about only safety and construction.
one of my concerns is, I don't know if I have the numbers correct, but the pass rate for last year's swimming, and I believe years prior to that as well, was a 30 or 40% pass rate. So I want to look at that and why. And the rate that the swimming instructors were being paid was very high. And I feel like the whole system needs to be rebuilt, and with the timing of Quick Trip, I feel like it's all comes together nicely for us to rework our system so we can keep affordable lessons where kids are learning to swim and succeeding and passing to the next level. Our fail rate is, you guys did the study, was it 40% 40% pass or 6?
To 60% pass.
How does that compare with other programs?
I don't know, my kids went through them more. And, you know,
Okay, I make a motion that we cancel 2025 swim lessons and list on our website of areas that they could go and take swim lessons for the safety of this project. And then we bring back swim lessons in 2026.
All right, we've got a motion by Kyle. Do I hear a second?
I'm not comfortable voting on this yet, but I just wanted to bring it up as a discussion point.
With no second, that motion dies on the floor. Do we have any further discussion on this? Or do you have some staff, do you have some good ideas of information you can bring back and help us make a more informed decision as we?
we can put it on the next agenda and we'll have answers about Quick Trip and,
That sounds good. And then, even be forthcoming with, yeah, I want to look at the whole system, because that to me adds another layer to just the safety aspect. I mean, both need to be discussed, kind of.
Well, I guess Kyle, I agree with you, but I didn't second you. And the reason I didn't is I don't think we got enough information either. And we're saying we put it out and tell them, here's some places you can go. We haven't even asked these places if they want them.
well, they're open swimming.
Yeah, it's all open.
Anyone can attend them.
Yeah, if they don't have too many signed up. My daughter took her young one down to Rust City and she had to take a certain slot because there was only certain times open. So that doesn't mean, I don't think we can commit to Rust City or Mora or anybody else. All right, Marcy, I think we need to have a conversation with them and then bring that back with the other information. And then if they say, we'd rather you never sent everybody to us, well, then Kyle's got a valid point and we just cancel it.
I don't know that we're necessarily sending them there. We're just giving them that option. We need more information. If that's what the council means, then we need more information.
I think we need
And that conversation with Quick Trip, because it started off as a safety issue. So let's let's talk to them and ask them how their construction will affect our community activities.
For the record, I did mention that.
Yes.
The program was being revamped and looked at as well, so I would like
Okay.
that just to be known that it wasn't just safety, I did mention both
So
things.
both things, all right, due to both, examining our swimming program and safety concerns. I think Quick Trip, just that part, though, they can answer how they plan to mitigate some of that.
Okay.
And they did discuss it at planning commission, and Dan, I want to stress your point that you said, you had some ideas early on in the planning stages of what you thought would be helpful for community safety, and it, you didn't.
The time for planning and dealing with traffic is when they submit their permits. They did that with the
I just want to
county.
acknowledge that you
They did that with the city, and both entities didn't and choose to employ anything. So
Right.
we're past that.
So what's the council meeting that you're gonna bring it back for either action or when it drop?
I would say the first meeting in March, otherwise it'll be too late.
And we can have all the backup attached to that agenda showing, even we'll go as far as putting the pass fail rates of the swimming lessons, the cost, and then quick trip information, how that will impact the safety of the roads. We'll just have all that attached on the next agenda, because we're still in a nice window of let's make a decision quickly, but it's not too late.
You know, another factor that you gotta think about, we worry about Quick Trip and their construction, but we don't say anything about the Coke trucks and the beer trucks and all the holiday gas merchandise trucks that fly up and down that Sixth Avenue. And, they go by the beach.
And another difference from 3 years ago is we have a fully occupied Evergreen Terrace too. So
Yeah.
3 years ago, it was 4 or 5 tenants. So
That intersection's county where, you know, by the bridge, but on our little road, is it ever a possibility that we say no trucks?
The
Yeah.
county let us know we could post that sign, no through trucks.
We need to do that because
Right.
they travel, and I don't blame the drivers, they're taking a shortcut.
And if they
And
don't
that,
say fine.
well, the turn up there is terrible. When you turn up by the bank, I call it the bank corner.
Oh my
That's,
God,
that's
yeah.
horrible when you want to try to take a left turn, you got
So
a
it
52-foot
was-
trailer. I mean,
it was something that was on the ordinance, maybe needs to get brought back up, but I don't think it has anything to do with controlling truck stops in this agenda, so.
right, yeah.
Just for discussion.
Okay. Let's move on to 9.7, first quarter budget review.
This was also asked to be on the agenda, so to start and set quarterly budget reviews as set times on the agenda.
because we had discussed at reviews, taking look back periods at the end of each quarter for department heads. And for this one, for me, first quarter going into second quarter as a council, I believe it's our time to start setting and brainstorming our budgetary goals for 2026, to start to bring this stuff forward, to potentially at that first meeting, at the end of the first quarter, establish a public meeting where we can get the public involved with maybe some of their thought processes where the city should be spending money in 2026, just to try to get out in front of this budget stuff better than we have in the past. So I think it was my idea, pick a date where we can review first quarter budget success, look at any challenges we may be facing, any funding gaps that may be presenting themselves on a day-by-day basis. And then begin to set ourselves up to plan for our 2026 budget at the same time.
So could we look at having that discussion at the second meeting of March? And then if there's any actions required, bring it back to the April first, or the first April night meeting?
If that
Or is it too
works.
late?
Does that work for staff?
For you, because I was getting the impression you were thinking having it at an evening meeting, so people could participate.
Sure, it was just more discussion.
Oh,
If the evening works, great. If morning works, then that's
because you're
fine.
wanting the end of the quarter, which would put that into either the first evening April meeting or the second, the day meeting and Thursday.
Right.
It would be a
work group meeting anyways.
We could do that Thursday meeting in April. The second meeting in April.
The second meeting in April or in March? I guess I'm just trying to follow with your first.
Because the first quarter ends the end of March. I was just trying to be a little bit out in front of it, so it gives us a month. So if we picked that first meeting, we could do the first meeting in April or the second meeting.
Cause then we can include all of April in that overview.
Okay.
Thank you. All of March.
I'm over my 2 hours of attention, so I'm just trying to be quiet.
I'm open to doing it during rather than trying to hold a special meeting. If that was a thought process, I would be in favor of doing it at the second April meeting. If that's more of a work group time, I feel like that's something that fits very well into our discussion work group mindset of doing things in that. So that would be fine.
Communication.
Sounds good.
Would, staff be required to attend for questions, or is that to be determined? You know, like for reviewing. Oh,
I would think that would be a meeting you would like department heads to be there to explain their budget.
okay.
We are currently meeting every second Thursday of morning of each month and going over as a department head, our budgets monthly to keep that in.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to number 9.8. This would be snow plowing on hillside.
So I brought this up because I was contacted from a member of the county that, we're currently plowing snow into a county road on a sidewalk, and then the county's plowing it back, and it's just going back and forth. I asked Maury about this, and I thought there was an agreement with us from Third Hillside. That was always what I was told, and it doesn't seem to exist either on our side or the county side. And so I'm asking that this go on new business, because if there's no agreement, why are we plowing?
Maury.
Right answer. I mean, I know I've seen a contract, so Mark LeBron was gonna look into it.
Yeah. Were you copied in on Aunt Garrett's? Okay.
So, but I know why we cleared, because the council desired to have that sidewalk cleared many, many years ago when it was put in. And to Aaron's point, the county is not interested in clearing sidewalks, and nor is the state. So it falls down to the state. And we've had problems for years. Plowing snow, even if we push the majority of the snow off of the sidewalk and into the green space, the county come back with their wing and round the edge of the curb and put whatever else is on the road back on the sidewalk. So we're clearing it over and over and over. I mean, I'll tell you, there's been times we're probably on it 10 times in the span of a few days.
Congratulations, you're like every other citizen in Pine City. So this brings up the sidewalk argument. I mean, you clear your sidewalk and then the city comes through and they plow snow on top of it, you have to go out and plow the snow. Plowing the snow out to the county, when we tell our residents that they can't plow snow out to the city road, that isn't a good policy.
Yeah, but we weren't plowing. We weren't pushing snow onto the concrete.
The sidewalk goes out to the county road, so where it would be is between the white line and the curb, correct, is where you're plowing snow?
Well, no, not even, no, we try to push it all off. We don't push it all into the road. And I think in my email, I explained some mechanical difficulties that day. So we were struggling getting it, and it was wet heavy, or not wet heavy. At that time, it was wet heavy because there was kind of 3 snowfalls going on, salt on and whatnot, so.
So that the county, I was told, use their wing plow to plow off the sidewalk and sling it up further. Is that not an option for us? We're using a toolcat currently, correct?
Well, we can in some areas, but, yeah, we've struggled with this for many years on Belfast. And now we're struggling with it on the 61 also, so whoever's plowing that for the county. We had many conversations with the supervisor, which then talks to the operator. And all they gotta do is slow down, they don't need to push it up on the side.
I mean, everybody wants to be able to go curb to curb so that they can use the full lane, and it's a county road. If the city doesn't have an agreement or doesn't own it, the city shouldn't be plowing. In my mind. If there is an agreement, then we should be maintaining it, but the option of pushing it back out between the curb and the white line doesn't really hold up if the county has a policy that they have to go all the way out to the curb. It may be back in the day, they didn't have that policy, maybe it's a new policy based off of accidents or whatever, who knows, but I don't know that pushing snow out into the county road, only to have the county push it back onto the sidewalk is the best option. If the agreement exists, I'd like to see it. If the agreement doesn't exist, I'd like the council to look at not plowing sidewalks on hillside.
I guess my concern is if we don't plow this, the only concern that pops into my head right away is if we don't plow the sidewalks on Hillside, who's going to?
Maury, was that part of the agreement about the bridge clearing? I mean, cause I've got that agreement at home, but
No, that's what's been done in the county.
yeah, it was been done in the county, but,
Talking about the freeway bridge?
right, I didn't know if that rest of that plowing was part of that agreement. I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, that's many years ago.
Sorry, I said, I believe that agreement was done, my memory, where with the new wall being built and.
Makes sense.
There's a lot of foot traffic. Side of those things.
And the man in the wheelchair,
Oh,
fix that.
I see
He'll
it.
be up here going crazy.
And the man in the wheelchair could go up to the county and say they want the sidewalk plowed out too.
I think the man in the wheelchair probably has went to anybody that will listen and make sure, he doesn't care who does it, he just needs to get to where he's going.
Is it wrong to maybe invite LeBron to the public works meeting?
I think he's back. He's out of the country, so.
Well, no, we are gonna have a meeting till, what, the end of March?
March, correct.
The end of March, have him come, I mean, maybe coming from a committee instead of just a department head, that maybe they'll understand that whatever policy each of us agree to, that's what needs to happen. And if we have to, we can make some kind of an agreement, written agreement, I don't.
And I think, yeah, I think we can figure it out.
Yeah, we'll be able to give for sure an update because Aaron Gunderson from the county could not find anything, but he said he would talk with Mark when he got back to work. So I know we'll have an update by then. if
Yes.
Yes or no.
I'm sure we don't have a problem having a conversation with Mark, Terry,
Yeah.
Tom, and Aaron, all of this. I think we can come to a conclusion. It all depends on the operator, and the operator that's currently plowing County Road 7 feels that he needs to push all that snow off of the road and onto the sidewalk. And then we come by and some of the snow ends up going back onto the edge of the curb. And then they come back through with
So you-
another load of sand and it's like just a cycle.
So you have a conversation about efficiency, basically. Yeah, timing could, yeah.
So just to clarify, do you feel the need to plow curb to curb inside city limits?
Well,
We try to,
Is it unreasonable for the county to want to plow curb to curb and?
it's not. I don't know. And that's not what I'm arguing at all. But maybe we can work together on the timing of
They would-
getting the snow out of the gutter and onto the grass.
Yeah, they should be doing their plowing and then you do yours. That's, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but then, yeah,
And if we could get an agreement where they would agree to contact you, they got people that could do that, saying, Maury, we finished the hillside, go ahead and hit her, you know? So that,
well, I mean, there's more than just the county that
Yeah.
drops their plows on that stretch of road, MinDOT does those. So
And they really should though,
So
shouldn't they?
they do, and they come through there.
Well, then we have to have another conversation, I guess.
I'd like to start talking with the county, I'll start a conversation with the county guys. We can come to this.
Thank you.
Perfect, thanks, Maury.
It seems like a lot of tax dollars are going to clean up after the county.
Well, he just told us that the state is doing it too. Well, let's tell the state to stop it.
And I agree with you. But head use of that sidewalk.
Yeah.
We have calls instantly if we don't have it figured out, so.
Well, there's a lot of people that live in those senior developments that are in wheelchairs and hover rounds and
Yeah, and that's another, to the point of sidewalks. Sidewalks in Minnesota that are right behind the curb without a boulevard are a terrible idea. Because there is nowhere for the snow to go. So,
So just for clarification, is it a county sidewalk or a city sidewalk?
whose right of way is it for?
Put the sidewalk in.
the states actually,
On that one? To turn it over to the county, if they did the road.
To do the maintenance on it.
Well, in order for this county to take it over, they redid the road, state did, and they gave it to the county.
All right, let's let Maury have some communications with city or county and state officials and bring a report back for us next meeting. Does that seem reasonable, or next meeting or the
let's
second?
let the snow melt and time. Maybe May, early May.
I mean, that's the point why I brought it up in this meeting, is there could be another fall event or snow events. And then we're out there doing the same thing, falling snow into a county road, and we're saying it's the operator fault for the county. This isn't a good procedure.
Let's adjust, let's come back with some options and we'll go from there. Let's move on to item number 10.1. Does anybody have any questions about year-to-date expense and revenue report?
The only comment I have is, I don't see any expenses for professional services, and I'm loving it, so. I remember past years, that was probably a pretty good jag of money. So whatever your staff is doing, Marcy, tell them to keep it up. We aren't reaching out for that stuff that costs us money, and it tells me another thing, that they know, they feel confident in what they're doing, and that even makes me even happier, so.
Well, I think we've really found resources as well too that.
And I was just gonna say, I think you've opened those doors, and they've opened some themselves, that they found ways to find this stuff out, so keep up the good work, that's all I can say.
I agree with Dave. It's
Yeah.
refreshing.
It is.
The only question that I had was, for parks and playgrounds. We had 10,700 for repairs and maintenance, and we're at 8,600 already this year. Are we gonna need to modify that, or some of that coming back from Lions?
It's all been reimbursed.
From the Lions? That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on here. Item number 11, the mayor's report. I just have a quick update to remind everyone that Brock's been working his tail off and getting ready for the garage sale or rummage sale on Saturday from 8 to 1 here. Selling off the used office furniture and surplus equipment that we no longer need. I've shared it on my personal Facebook pages. I encourage everybody to do the same and see if we can get recoup some of our investments and dumpsters and things that we've spent money on.
What I used to say at my garage sales, it's cheaper than a dumpster.
And also thanks to Brock for working hard to get this taken care of. Moving on to item number 12, I have Counselor Hill with TDA Tire.
Just maybe more you can clear this up, because when I was out there the other day, and I seen the boys were fixing a tire when I brought a shovel and stuff out there and other things I was out there for, and they said it was some of them shards off of that road that went into that tire that Mike was fixing. Are we still having problems with that? That's why I wanted to talk on the TDA. Is that road still?
The road's all new.
Okay. So
I don't know, I guess I didn't wasn't aware of that.
it supposedly punctured the tire in the sidewall and stuff, and they repaired it, but they really didn't really want to, but I don't even remember what it was off of.
Like, this was months ago or?
No, just last month. You can, Mike would remember when I was there and he was showing me that.
Because I've turned in a few different times to Marcy to get reimbursed for
And the city,
Southback summer.
yeah, the city's been reimbursed for that, but as.
This whole thing with TDA is like, I mean, we stopped them from doing what, you issued a stop work order and they stopped. Is that where we're gonna leave this? I mean,
The stop work order was never lifted.
no, I know that, but the bottom, it's kind of like the Pine City Mill, and I dealt with that for 15 years before we finally got MPCA and EPA and Department of Ag and everybody else involved, and we eventually got rid of that. It was a major feat. Is that what's gonna, are we going down that same road with this dumping of tires that we say wasn't done properly or permitted properly? We don't think, because it was a wider road than what it was supposed to be. And I mean, should we be getting MPCA involved in this or EPA?
Well,
I mean-
they were brought in immediately, and they did their own investigation. I don't know how far it went with them, but they were brought in immediately.
Well, I think it would probably be a good idea to find out, are you guys okay with this? I mean, when he comes this spring, if he comes to us and says, can I finish this? What are we gonna say? No.
I would think.
Well, I would say we'd say no. I mean, I think that's the answer, but
But to your point, who's gonna do the remediation work? Who's gonna be responsible for extracting what's not supposed to
if
be
he all of a
there?
sudden bails out because this isn't city property now.
Right.
City, this is my concern. That's what happened over there. And that cost us a ton of money. So that's why I'm saying, I think we need to figure out where we are. Where is MPCA and the boys and girls and who are involved in this? You know, are they done with this, or is it okay with them that what happened? I mean, I know that their agencies, they like to push code and stuff, but they don't have any funding for enforcement. So that's just about what's happened here, I think. And we need to find out, because we can't just leave this and all of a sudden it's gonna be our problem, because that's what's gonna happen.
And is the building permit valid because they didn't fulfill?
Yeah, where we are with Snyder, with our building official, yeah.
Tabitha, do you have?
I do, so the city doesn't regulate this, it's actually regulated by the state, which is the MPCA, so their permit is actually through them.
Yeah.
To do this, so, and then once all of the tire shreds and everything were happening, we did contact the MPCA, and they didn't give us direction. There's nothing that we could really stop them from doing it, that's pretty much all.
So now they're allowed to keep doing it, is that what you're saying?
So we would have to lift the stop work order.
But when they applied for the permit, they were given specific direction as to what type of fill could be used and what couldn't. They went ahead and used fill that we said wasn't approved
But we don't have jurisdiction over that.
over the permit. We
What they
absolutely
can-
do.
What they can and can't use, we can't cipher that, because it's not our ordinance.
Yes, it is. It was all part of the conditional use permit. They asked if they could use tires. We told them that they could use tires. Greg was sitting right over here and we said that it had to be an approved backfill source. The tires weren't it.
We did, he came at that late, and we had already approved with whatever the gravel or whatever.
No, because it didn't go past planning,
It did, and we said, no, he needs to do it
Right.
as if it stated in his permit. No tires, we've already done this, this is done,
Right.
we can't come back and
I'm pretty
ask.
sure that's when Greg said, the state told him that he could do that. It's not a state.
But the
He's got a
state,
state permit,
but
which supersedes us.
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The local, we have all authority to issue the permit.
We can make the standards higher, we just
Yeah.
can't make them
We
less.
can't go any lower.
Right, so we would have authority if we decided, but that's why we need to bring in, our building official, because he's the one that would be doing it for us anyway. It wouldn't be Maury, it wouldn't be anybody else, it would be him, I would think, wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it be? I mean, he's supposed to, he approves, well, we do the whack and sack, and do we do the filling and grading permits? I thought we were doing that. No. So he does,
We should be, or somebody should be.
I thought we were doing, I thought,
We got this in the pond stuff.
I thought that got changed though. We got the filling and grading stuff back. And the permits, well, we're looking at the fee schedule, maybe the ordinance committee can look at that. Well, either way, I think we need to dissect this and figure out if I just don't want to get hung another hundreds of $50,000-$100,000, whatever it costs us for that thing over there. And all of a sudden, we're looking for money.
Can we bring it back? So our building officials aren't here, correct?
Right,
So could we bring it back to the second March meeting and have A&E present to see what our options are for enforcement?
right. Well, does he even have any authority? What would his advice be on this? Because I think it's important that we should just let this lay. We need to get it finished. So,
Currently, because TDA Tire does not return any phone calls.
no, this,
For probably since
we need to drag him in court.
November,
That's-
they haven't returned calls.
We need to drag him in court.
Okay, let's work with those parties that would be involved and get some more information and bring that back. Next we'll move on to item number 13. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn? So, motion from Kyle. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second from Dan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I just realized I got 30 there.
Yeah.
So big.
Yes, indeed.
You did the rest of the day off, right?
Oh, I got